Most people think kidney failure begins with a hospital bed, a diagnosis, or a terrifying lab report. But the truth is far more disturbing. For millions of people, kidney damage does not begin with pain. It begins in silence. It begins on ordinary mornings, with ordinary habits, ordinary meals, ordinary choices, repeated so often they no longer feel dangerous. And that is exactly what makes it so deadly. Because while most people are waiting for a loud warning sign, the kidneys are often being damaged quietly, day after day, year after year, long before the body screams for help. Your kidneys are not passive organs, they are survival organs. Every single day, these two fist-sized filters process around 180 liters of fluid, remove waste from your blood, regulate minerals, balance sodium and potassium, help control blood pressure, support red blood cell production, and maintain the internal chemistry that keeps you alive. And they do all of this without applause, without recognition, and very often without symptoms. That is the danger, because the kidneys are incredibly resilient. They can continue functioning even after losing a significant portion of their capacity. That means damage can be progressing long before you ever feel something is wrong. By the time many people notice fatigue, swelling, puffiness around the eyes, changes in urination, muscle cramps, brain fog, or unexplained weakness, the stress on the kidneys may have been building for years. And the frightening part is this: many of the things that slowly damage the kidneys are considered completely normal in modern life. Too much salt, too little water, too much sugar, too many processed foods, too many ultra-refined snacks, too much fast food, too much sitting, too little sleep, too much chronic stress, too many medications taken casually, and not enough attention paid to what the body has been trying to whisper for a very long time. Research has shown that chronic kidney disease often progresses silently, especially in the early stages, and many people do not know they have reduced kidney function until substantial damage has already occurred. That is not because the kidneys are weak. It is because they are so loyal. They keep working even when they are being overburdened. But loyalty has limits, and every day, millions of kidneys are being pushed closer to that limit by one thing most people underestimate: inflammation. Inflammation is not always dramatic. It does not always look like fever or swelling. Sometimes it looks like a lifestyle. Sometimes it looks like a daily routine built on convenience instead of nourishment. Sometimes it looks like the silent chemical chaos caused by processed food, sugary drinks, seed oil, heavy junk meals, poor sleep, smoking, high blood pressure, insulin resistance, and long-term dehydration. And the kidneys feel all of it, because every drop of blood must pass through them. Every toxin, every excess mineral, every metabolic byproduct, every inflammatory signal, every burden eventually reaches the kidneys. And when that burden becomes constant, the kidneys begin to suffer microscopic injuries most people never see. Tiny blood vessels begin to harden, filtering membranes begin to weaken, delicate kidney tissues become inflamed, and little by little the body's natural filtration system starts losing its precision. This is how kidney decline often begins. Not with one catastrophic event, but with repeated biological stress, one salty processed meal after another, one sugary drink after another, one dehydrated afternoon after another, one sleepless night after another, one ignored warning sign after another, and one of the biggest silent attackers of kidney health is high blood pressure. Many people think high blood pressure only affects the heart. That is dangerously incomplete. High blood pressure damages the small blood vessels inside the kidneys, reducing their ability to filter waste efficiently. Over time, those tiny vessels stiffen, narrow, and weaken. And when the kidneys lose healthy blood flow, they lose power. This is why hypertension remains one of the leading causes of kidney disease worldwide. And then there is blood sugar. Excess blood sugar does not just affect energy, it affects blood vessels, nerves, and filtration systems all over the body. When glucose remains elevated over time, it can damage the tiny filtering units in the kidneys called nephrons. These structures are incredibly delicate, and once enough of them are damaged, the kidneys begin to lose their ability to keep the blood clean and balanced. This is one reason diabetes has become one of the most devastating drivers of kidney failure in the modern world. And yet millions continue living with blood sugar spikes every day without realizing what is being slowly sacrificed in the background. Then comes dehydration, one of the most ignored threats of all. Most people do not think of dehydration as kidney damage. They think of thirst, but your kidneys depend on fluid to help filter waste and maintain balance. When the body stays underhydrated repeatedly, the kidneys are forced to work under strain. The urine becomes more concentrated, waste becomes harder to flush, and over time, this can contribute to kidney stress, stones, and a greater burden on the entire urinary system. Now add to that the casual overuse of pain medications. This is where things become even more alarming. Many people reach for over-the-counter painkillers without a second thought. Headache, back pain, joint pain. Fatigue, one pill here, one pill there. But some of the most commonly used anti-inflammatory drugs, especially when taken frequently or in high doses, can reduce blood flow to the kidneys and increase the risk of kidney injury. And because these medications are so normalized, the danger often goes unnoticed until damage has already begun. Then there is the food itself, not just what people eat occasionally, but what they eat consistently. Highly processed foods loaded with sodium, preservatives, phosphates, artificial ingredients, and inflammatory fats do not simply add calories. They add pressure to your blood vessels, pressure to your blood sugar, pressure to your inflammatory pathways, pressure to your kidneys. And the cruel irony is that many people do not feel sick while this is happening. They feel fine, until fine becomes fatigue, until fatigue becomes swelling, until swelling becomes abnormal labs, until abnormal labs become fear. And this is why waiting for symptoms is one of the most dangerous mistakes a person can make. Because the kidneys often whisper before they collapse, and if you do not understand the whispers, you may only hear the crisis. The deeper truth is this: kidney damage is often not caused by one terrible decision. It is caused by 1,000 small ones that seemed harmless at the time. A life built on neglect rarely feels like neglect while you are living it. It feels normal. It feels busy. It feels convenient. It feels temporary until the body begins collecting the bill. And by then, many people are not asking how this happened. They are asking why nobody warned them sooner. So let this be the warning, not to frighten you, but to wake you up. Because the most powerful thing about silent kidney damage is that much of it begins with patterns you can still change. What you drink matters, what you eat matters, how you sleep matters, how often you move matters, your blood pressure matters, your blood sugar matters, your daily inflammation matters, And the choices that seem small today are often shaping the health of your kidneys years before any doctor ever says a word. This is not about perfection. It is about awareness. It is about understanding that your kidneys are fighting for you every single day, whether you notice them or not. They are filtering your blood while you sleep, balancing your chemistry while you work, protecting your life while you ignore them. And the least they deserve is not to be destroyed by preventable habits. Because one of the most shocking truths in health is this: some of the most life-changing damage in the human body happens quietly. No sirens, no dramatic collapse, no immediate pain, just slow destruction disguised as normal living. And if there is one message you should never forget, it is this: your kidneys do not fail overnight. They weaken silently, they struggle gradually, they suffer invisibly, and if you keep ignoring the daily causes, the day may come when silence turns into a diagnosis you never saw coming. But if you change the pattern now, if you start respecting the whispers before they become screams, you may protect one of the most vital systems in your body before it is too late. And that decision does not begin in a hospital. It begins with what you do today. The biggest lie ever sold to people with health problems is the lie of the quick fix, the miracle cleanse, the overnight detox, the 7-day reset, the one secret drink, the flush your kidneys fast. Promise that sounds so hopeful when your body feels tired, inflamed, swollen, or broken down from the inside. And that is exactly why so many people fall for it. Because when you are scared about your health, you do not want a long answer. You want relief. You want certainty. You want something simple enough to believe and powerful enough to save you. But the human body does not heal by marketing. It heals by biology. And when it comes to your kidneys, that truth becomes brutally important. Because your kidneys are not waiting for a magic powder, a trendy tea, or a viral cleanse to suddenly rescue them. They are waiting for you to stop overloading them. They are waiting for inflammation to come down. They are waiting for your blood pressure to stabilize. They are waiting for your blood sugar to stop spiking. They are waiting for circulation to improve. They are waiting for your daily choices to stop working against the very organs trying to keep you alive. That is the truth most people are never told. Real healing does not come from dramatic promises. It comes from repeated protection. And that may not sound exciting at first, but it is far more powerful than fantasy. Because once you understand how healing actually works inside the body, you stop chasing gimmicks and start rebuilding health at the level where disease begins. And that level is not random, it is cellular, it is vascular, it is inflammatory, it is metabolic, and it is happening inside you every single day. Every meal you eat is either adding pressure or reducing pressure. Every drink is either helping filtration or making the kidneys work harder. Every habit is either feeding inflammation or calming it down. And this is where the most important shift happens. Healing is not one big event. It is 1,000 small repairs the body performs when you finally give it the conditions to do so. That is what foods like cranberries, red bell peppers, garlic, and blueberries actually do. They do not cure the kidneys overnight. They do something more honest, more scientific, and more life-changing. They help reduce the stress load that has been quietly damaging the kidneys for years. That is how real healing begins. Not with a miracle, but with less damage, because the body can often do incredible repair work when it is no longer fighting the same attack every day. Think about that carefully. Most people are not failing to heal because their body has no ability to recover. They are failing to heal because they keep re-injuring themselves with the same habits, the same foods, the same inflammation, the same dehydration, the same blood sugar spikes, and the same toxin overload that created the problem in the first place. And then they wonder why the cleanse did not work. Because no cleanse can outrun a destructive lifestyle. No juice can cancel out chronic inflammation. No supplement can erase the biological consequences of what is happening every day in the bloodstream. And your kidneys know that better than any part of your body, because your kidneys are the cleanup crew. They are constantly filtering the consequences of your choices. Too much sodium, they deal with it. Too much sugar, they deal with it. Too little water, they deal with it. Inflammatory waste, medication byproducts, metabolic toxins, circulatory stress, they deal with all of it until one day they start losing the ability to keep up. And by then, people are often desperate for a fast answer. But the answer was never speed. The answer was consistency. And science supports this over and over again. Research continues to show that long-term dietary patterns, not short-term detoxes, are what influence inflammation, vascular health, insulin sensitivity, oxidative stress, and kidney burden over time. That means the body does not respond best to intensity. It responds best to repetition. The same way damage happens through repetition, healing also happens through repetition. That is the law most people ignore until it is too late. The same food choices that quietly helped create the problem are often the same place recovery must begin. Because every time you choose anti-inflammatory foods, you are lowering the fire inside the body. Every time you choose hydration over sugar, heavy drinks, you are improving the kidney's working conditions. Every time you reduce ultra-processed foods, you are lowering chemical and sodium overload. Every time you support blood vessel health, you are improving the oxygen and nutrient delivery your kidneys depend on to survive. This is not motivational language. This is physiology, and physiology does not care about hype. It responds to what is repeated. That is why foods like blueberries matter, because their antioxidant compounds can help reduce oxidative stress, one of the silent forces that damages delicate kidney tissues over time. That is why garlic matters, because it supports circulation, helps calm inflammatory pathways, and may help support healthier blood pressure, one of the biggest protectors of kidney function. That is why red bell peppers matter, because they deliver antioxidant support and essential nutrients without burdening the body with the junk found in highly processed foods. That is why cranberries matter, because supporting urinary tract health and lowering inflammatory burden can reduce stress on the entire system. None of these foods are dramatic on their own, and that is exactly why people underestimate them. Because modern culture has trained people to believe that if something is truly powerful, it must be extreme. It must be expensive, it must be rare, it must sound like a secret, but the body has never worked that way. Some of the most powerful healing tools are not exotic. They are simply consistent, and consistency is where almost everyone loses the battle. Not because they are weak, but because consistency is not glamorous. It does not give instant emotional reward. It does not feel exciting on day one. It feels small, too small to matter, and that is the trap. Because the things that destroy your health often look small in the moment too. One bad meal does not seem like a crisis. One sugary drink does not feel dangerous. One sleepless night does not feel life-changing. One dehydrated afternoon does not feel like a threat, but when repeated enough times, small things become biological patterns, and biological patterns become disease. The exact same rule works in reverse. One better meal may not feel miraculous. One walk may not feel revolutionary. One day of hydration may not feel dramatic. One serving of anti-inflammatory food may not feel like healing. But repeated enough times, small protective choices become biological rescue, and that is where people underestimate the body. Because your body is always responding, always adapting, always recording what you do repeatedly, always trying to survive what you keep giving it. Which means if you keep feeding it inflammation, it will reflect inflammation. If you keep feeding it overload, it will reflect overload. But if you start feeding it protection, support, and relief, the body begins shifting in ways most people do not see immediately, but absolutely feel over time. More stable energy, less bloating, better fluid balance, less pressure, better circulation, more metabolic control, less inflammatory burden, and in many cases, less silent damage accumulating in the background. This is why the most honest message about kidney support is also the least marketable. Healing is slow because it is real. And real healing is worth more than false urgency. Because urgency sells, but patience repairs. And if there is one thing your kidneys need, it is not panic. It is partnership. They need you to stop treating them like they are indestructible. They need you to stop handing them a daily biochemical war and expecting a supplement to save the outcome. They need you to understand that every day you choose nourishment over damage, you are not doing something trivial. You are changing the internal environment those organs must survive in, and environment changes everything. A damaged system placed in a better environment often begins recovering in ways people never thought possible. Not because the body is magical, but because it was finally given a chance. That is what food really is. Not entertainment, not just taste, not just comfort, not just convenience. Food is instruction. Food is chemistry. Food is information. And every bite is either teaching your body to inflame, deteriorate, and struggle, or teaching it to stabilize, protect, and repair. That is why real kidney healing will never come from a one-time dramatic flush. Because your kidneys do not need theater, they need support. They need less pressure tomorrow than they had yesterday. They need less inflammation this month than they had last month. They need less abuse this year than they had last year. That is what progress looks like, not a miracle ad. Not a fake before and after promise, not a trendy detox challenge, but a body under less attack, a filtration system under less strain, a bloodstream carrying less chaos, a life built around habits that stop accelerating damage and start making healing possible. And if there is one truth worth remembering for the rest of your life, it is this: the body does not usually collapse because of one moment. It collapses because of what was repeated, and it does not usually recover because of one miracle. It recovers because of what is repeated in the other direction. That is the real science, that is the real hope, and that is the real power. Because if damage was built daily, healing can be built daily too. Not instantly, not perfectly, but powerfully. And that means the foods you choose today are not small. They may be the beginning of the repair your body has been waiting for all along.